Taiwan has done an amazing job of dealing with this coronavirus outbreak. And part of the reason that they did such a good job is that during the SARS outbreak, they put into place a whole system for dealing with outbreaks specifically. They had a branch of their government that was just for outbreaks of epidemics. And they put policies into place, what they're going to do on the next outbreak, and they did. They set that up back in 2003, and when they found out on December 31st, they found out that there was an outbreak of a new virus in Wuhan, China. They immediately put their systems into place, and the first thing they did is they started closing down air flights between Wuhan and Taiwan, and they started screening passengers. So immediately, and within a week, they were quarantining people. They did all kinds of things. They used the military to start like military personnel to help manufacturing business start ramping up their production of things like face masks, things that they might need, and they made the travel, anybody that had traveled in the last 14 days, they made those, they checked all of them to find out where they'd traveled to and from, and those that were at a high risk, they contacted them and had them self-quarantine. They made the travel, the last 14 days of travel, that information available to medical people and pharmacies so that they could, every patient they were dealing with, they had their travel history for the last 14 days, so they had better understanding or a better way to identify who was at a high risk. Anyway, they did all these things, and it made it so that even though they were at high risk of all the countries in the world, I think they were second as the most likely to have a bad outbreak from this thing, because they had so many, they have something like 850,000 people that reside or work in mainland China. So they were at a really high risk for having an outbreak, and they had one of the lowest in the world. So far, they've only had one death and only 49 confirmed cases. And I think that as we see this coronavirus epidemic play out, one of the main things that we should be doing is looking at what worked in different countries and what didn't work, and making sure that we have policies in place for the next outbreak, because there is likely going to be another outbreak at some time. And if you can, the faster that you can shut something down when there's an outbreak, the more likely you are to keep it from, completely taking over or running amok. Speed makes a big difference. So if you have those policies and strategies in place ahead of time, you can really prevent an epidemic. So let's hope we do that.